Well, good late morning. It's Monday, February 13th. Congratulations, Kansas City Chiefs, the newest Super Bowl champions. It's an awesome game last night. Who sharpens you? Who sharpens you? Who inspires you? I want to talk a little bit about one of the people that has touched my life in a way that I really honestly don't know how to put into words. His name is Patrick Ennis. And he was a Vietnam veteran. I met Patrick Ennis at the Dallas VA. I want to say probably around 2015. Going past some little bit of construction here, so it's going to be a little noisy. So Patrick Ennis, probably one of the most dynamic, charismatic guys I ever met in my life. He was like I said, he was a Vietnam veteran, and he was a horse farrier for years and years and years. Very successful one at that. In fact, he went to Cornell, and he was telling me about their farrier school there, and how you'd have to take a piece of iron and mold it and shape it to the gait of the horse, within a certain amount of time. It's a series of tests. And he's really a fascinating man to listen to. So anyway, long story short, he after we became friends, he started telling me about this trek he was going on. Said he dreamed for a long time about going on the Camino de Santiago, and he gave me a little booklet to look at, and I was looking over that, and he looked me straight in the eyes and said, "Roger, you need to do this." I thought to myself, why do I need to do this? Go to a different country and hike and backpack and leave my family, especially after all the deployments and training exercises that I'd been on. And so he just began just really encouraging me, and probably within 6 months or so of him talking with me, I talked with my wife at the time and said, I kind of feel like I need to do this. And we all got together and talked, and after that talk with Pat and his wife Kathy and us, my ex-wife Rebecca said, you need to do this. You need to really do some work on the stuff you've been through. So I decided to go on the Camino de Santiago. And I have to be honest with you, I was scared as hell. God, I was scared. In my mind, would have been which was true, it would have been the first time since the military stuff that I was out of the country for an extended period of time. But you know what? I didn't know how I was do it. I didn't know how I was going to do it. I mean, I had to, at the time we were pretty tight, just like most people. and financially tight, and so I sold a bunch of stuff and raised some money and bought the equipment and probably went through 50 pairs of shoes at REI. I'm telling you, I wore everybody out at REI. I wore the Dallas REI staff out, South Lake, Fort Worth, everybody. They saw me coming. It's like, oh, here comes Benimoff. At least that's what I'm thinking. That's what I would have been saying had I been an employee. So, I'm gonna navigate around this huge mud puddle and see if I can get through here without falling in. If I do fall in, that's okay. See if I can do this. So, anyway, with those, I bring up the shoes, going through 50 pairs of shoes, because for me, in my mind, that was the way I was coping with all of my anxiety, everything I was feeling at the time. Everything was building up. And I imagine, like, if you're listening to this right now, you can probably think of things in your life that kind of serve as a, I don't know, for lack of better words, a scapegoat. Sort of like that's where you channel your worries, your anxiety. And like I said, for me, it was the shoes. Well, I found the shoes eventually, right? So, Pat and I set off on our journey of a lifetime together. We flew into France. I think it was August 31st of 2016. And we went to Lourdes, France, because Pat was a he was a devout Catholic, and he wanted to go and see the holy sites and the cathedral in France. So that's what we did. We went there, got the holy water, he got his crucifixes, all the items that he had wanted to get for many of his friends back home who were sick. He had a couple of friends that had different illnesses. And that's the kind of guy that Pat was. Always forward thinking, always thinking of others. And after Lourdes, France, we took the train to St. John Pier de Port in Spain. And that's where we began the Camino. And the Camino, I don't know if you're familiar with it, but if you start at St. John Pier de Port, your first long trek is over and through the Pyrenees Mountains. And that's quite a feat. A lot of people, they'll start in Roncesvalles, which is, I guess, about, I don't know, I can't remember, 16 to 20 kilometers from St. John Pier de Port. If you start there, you skip the Pyrenees Mountains. Well, not us, right? No way. We did the Pyrenees Mountains, and I will tell you, that was one heck of a journey. We were both struggling. And so we spend the day hiking, and we finally make it to Roncesvalles. And by the time we make it, we're probably some of the last people. The dining facility there that they offer, everything was gone, all the food was gone. We were able to get a couple of bunks in a little portable, one of those portable bunkhouses, a 4-man bunkhouse. And we woke up, it was rainy, all our clothes were like wet and stuff, and from all the hiking, and you know, we were in pretty bad shape. I'll say more about the actual trip itself, but I really want to focus, and I wanted to give you a context of kind of the chain of events, but I really want to focus on Pat right now. I remember when we were climbing through the Pyrenees, and I had just about had it. I was so mad. In my mind, Pat wasn't moving fast enough. And so, being tired and hungry and my personality, I just let him have it. I remember exactly where we were on the mountain. We were like right at the peak. And when I say mountain, where it's not like Everest, right? There's some paved roads and there's unimproved roads and stuff like that. So, I'm not trying to say that we scaled the mountain by any means. But I just told Pat how mad I was that we were way behind everybody else and we weren't going to get a place, and it was just this. I wasn't happy in the least. And Pat, being Pat, he looked at me and he said, "Roger, you give me what you have. I know there's more in there." He said, "I'll listen to you. I'll take what you have." And I thought about it for a second, and I really started to weep, because I don't know about you, but when you have people that are willing to listen and give you grace and love you in spite of how much you think things are going wrong or are out of control or whatever you're feeling. But for me in that moment, that was significant. And we embraced each other and we continued to walk. It was like nothing ever happened. Pat was that kind of guy. And so probably about a week, maybe 10 days into our walk, we ran across 3 what I would call angels. 3 people. 2 were English, 1 was an Australian. Andrew, Sarah, and Caroline. And we started walking with them. Now I want to say that Pat was a very charismatic person. He was the type of person that everybody wanted to be around. So whenever we walked, and the nature of these long hikes, such as the Camino, you meet new people, you walk with them, they go on their own, you go on your own, and you're pretty much always seeing these people, because you're traveling at pretty much the same pace. So over those 4 days, 3-4 days that we met Andrew, Sarah, and Caroline, we instantly connected with them, and it was wild how much we laughed and talked and stuff. But then there was the 15th of September 2016. Pat, Andrew, Sarah, and I were traveling through Burgos, Spain, and we stopped at the cathedral there in Burgos, and we spent a couple hours there doing self-guided tours, looking at the landscape. I remember that morning we ate at this beautiful bakery, best pastries. I mean, it was phenomenal. And it was a rainy day, so I was wearing my rain jacket and stuff, and everybody's kind of bundled up. And so Pat and I decided to leave the cathedral a little early. We talked with Andrew and Sarah. We found an albergue that we're gonna link up at, and so they stayed, and they continued on. Well, Pat and I, we hiked, got to the albergue, checked in, and went upstairs to our bedroom. Really nice albergue. Pat sat down on the bed and he had a heart attack. At first I thought Pat was joking with me because we always ripped on each other. I don't know if you've ever been around military people or anything like that, you know, it gets pretty pretty good. And so Pat has a heart attack and I see what's going on and I do CPR, and then I ran to the door and jumped downstairs, a couple flights of stairs, to get the albergue owner to call paramedics, and I flew back up the stairs and continued, and sad to say that Pat died, but he died in my arms, and I was holding him when he left this world. Well, the police come, the paramedics come, and they're continuing to try to work on Pat. I'm downstairs and just weeping, right? As you can imagine. And got in touch with Pat's wife, Kathy, and called her and told her what had happened. Hung up the phone, and I was sitting down there with my head in my arms and hands, and Andrew and Sarah and Caroline come in the door. They had finished up their visit at the cathedral, and they didn't know what was going on because all these ambulances were outside. So we talked, I told them what happened, and we all wept for quite a while. The albergue owners, they were godsends. They took care of us, fed us, and the four of us, we got drunk. And later that night, Andrew and Sarah came to me and said, you know, if you want to finish this journey, we will walk with you. We will make sure you make it to the end. And at that point, I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure what I was going to do. We had to stay, or I had to stay in the city in Burgos, or right outside, for several days for the police to do their investigations, and was working with the U.S. Embassy on logistics and with Kathy. I talked with my ex. She said, if you want to come home, I totally understand. I really want you home. But if you want to finish it, you do it. And that's what we did. Even when I couldn't walk, Andrew, Sarah, and Caroline carried me. It was amazing. And it was around that time that I heard Andrew say, when he talked about the people that were significant in his life, he would say something like, this person makes me want to be a better person. And he said that a number of times throughout the journey. And that's really the gauge for me. Whom I'm with, does that person make me a better person, or does that person bring me down? Does that person bring negativity or in my life, or what is it? And Pat Ennis was one of those people that made me, inspired me to be a better person. It's been really interesting because ever since then, 2016, I've been hibernating, let's say. And as this opportunity materialized to do the Appalachian Trail, Pat Ennis was one of those people who first came to my mind and said, Roger, you've got to do this. That's what I pictured him saying. Who is it that inspires you? Who inspires you to be a better person than what you already are? One of the things I'm keenly aware of these days is to always tell the people in my life how thankful I am for them, and to love them, and to tell them I love them. So I wanted to share that story with you. It's a long one, and I'm sure I'll talk more about Pat as this journey goes on. But he is sort of my angel on my shoulder, encouraging me not to give up, encouraging me to use the gifts that I have to help others. Who is it, or who are the people in your lives that inspire you to be a better person? And have you told them that? Again, this is Roger Benimoff. I want to thank you for following along.